I think it's time to talk about how the Vancouver Whitecaps are contributing to the growing BC soccer pathway. So first things first, we are going to take a look at their youth development history. The development definitely looks like it's back on track with the creation of MLS Next Pro. A second team came in, and then the key, in my opinion, and probably yours as well, Alex, League One BC for men's and women. How important has that league been?
Well, it's been absolutely crucial because I think it's provided a pathway for both, and I think especially the women's side, it's been key because for a lot of these, women's players, they'd kind of reach a certain age and it would just kind of be like, what? Pretty much for most of them is just go to university and see from there. Some of them have done well, like you look like a Jade Riviere goes to Michigan, now playing for Manchester United. Julie Grosso went to Texas, now playing for Juventus. Jordan Hoytema skipped university, went straight to PSG, right? So there's talent, but you can only wonder what some of these players could have shown if they had a chance to prove themselves locally. And I think it's exciting that with this women's team, you have a bunch of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds all proving themselves against other university level competition, or even some ex-pros and or even current pros are in their off season just out there getting reps. And that's been huge for them to play close to home and set up a pipeline so that in the future, say if there's a professional league, they can make that jump up. And then for the men, it's just another, landing spot to kind of work your way up, right? As we've seen, it's tough to go from youth soccer to pro soccer. Yes, for every Alphonso Davies, there's dozens and hundreds more, even you could say, that kind of get stuck where they get a jump too early to the pro. They're not able to get to the level, but then they go down to the youth level. They're too dominant. They kind of end up yo-yoing, and that's not good for anyone. You need minutes at this age. And you can now with these pathways, you can start in League One BC. If you're doing well, you can go up to MLS Next Pro. Then you can go straight to the first team, and there's more of this gradual transition that can really help players. So both pathways have been absolutely crucial for all types of players.
To hone in a little bit more on the Whitecaps women's side, who are balling out right now in League One BC, we've brought on their head coach, Katie Collar, to discuss winning the championship last year, going into this weekend where they're hoping to do so again, and what she thinks about the program.
Awesome. Well, we're joined here by Katie Collar, the head coach of the Whitecaps women's Rex program, the Elite Academy. Such a fun team to watch over the last few years. And I kind of want to ask you, Katie, just to start. Obviously, you've been in this role for a few years now. What was kind of the vision of the project when you came in, and how on track is the team and everything based on where you saw that vision a few years ago?
Yeah, it's been an amazing, couple of years. I actually started May of last year, so I came in right before the League One season, the inaugural season with the group, and dove right in, started right away, and started prepping for our first game, which was actually 2 weeks after I arrived. So I think the vision when I came in was to utilize the league to really help develop our young players and give them a competition platform to be one showcased on and two learn how to compete and play on a bigger stage and play against older, stronger, more experienced players in that kind of capacity. So for us to go and win it last year and have the success that we've had has been a huge accomplishment. I would say our biggest goal is more around the development of the players and the ability to allow them to continue to progress to the next steps, after having come through such an incredible opportunity to play in a great league against good players.
Katie, your side is having a very strong season so far. How excited are you for another chance at winning the final in the Interprovincial Championships?
It's been a great season. The kids are buzzing right now. I think this year more than ever they've bonded as a group. They've had a really good chance to get to know each other over the course of the season and really become a team and a family throughout the season. The opportunity to play as a group together and compete for another championship is amazing. It's the opportunity for the kids to get to showcase what they can do, and it's an incredible opportunity for us to continue to grow.
And you mentioned as well, like you've got a very young team, right? Like you mentioned kids, and that was certainly something a big surprise to see last year, just how young the group is. But also, I mean, just the talent and quickly how they were able to adapt to the level, the cohesion they shown. What has it been like just to work with this young group and how moldable and adaptable and just the growth you've seen in such a short time?
Yeah, I can't say enough how amazing this group of players is, the mentality, the work ethic, their ability to turn up to training every day and really, grind and give it their all and make each other better, push to make themselves better. They're all willing to get out of their comfort zone in training and in games. And I think that's what sets them apart from other teams is, they're really willing to continue to push to new heights and new limits. And, you've seen that over the course of the last year or 2 years with them and in the way that they've grown. They are a young group, and I think it's a part of our growth, but it's also a part of our strength. I think the ability for them to play without fear and to be brave and to continue to learn how to do that as a young team. It's an incredible group that we have, and their mindset and willingness to continue to grow is amazing.
Now, Katie, in your opinion, how important has it been to have a League One pathway in BC for women's soccer?
It's incredibly important to have this pathway. I think without this pathway, this group 2 years ago would have been playing exhibition games and setting up friendlies and going on tournaments, but wouldn't have had a competition platform to be able to learn the things that they have. I think ultimately a lot of these players are going to go on and play for youth national teams. They're going to go on and play for universities, and hopefully in the next couple of years go on and play pro in Canada, if not overseas. So the ability for them to be able to compete in a league and compete in a competition structure and really prepare themselves to go into some of those next stages where it is a must-win situation, or a big game with big fans and lots of people watching, and their ability to adapt and be able to play with that, play through that, and ultimately excel with that. It's huge to have this league and the ability for the players to compete in it.
You kind of mentioned it a bit there, the idea of playing professionally at home. I guess how excited are you for a project like the Project 8 Sports One, in which the Whitecaps have already signed up as one of the founding teams? Just how crucial is it to see that a pipeline could be very well forming, and just the importance it would provide for these sorts of young players who obviously are getting these opportunities. There's the talent, but maybe 5-6 years ago at 18, 19, they'd be heading to college or would be kind of out of options, where this pipeline could be growing.
Yeah, can't be more excited about it. Honestly, I was a kid that was dreaming one day to become a professional. It wasn't the opportunity for me. There wasn't a lot of opportunity there at the time. So being able to see these young kids not only dream it, but potentially be able to achieve it's setting us apart and making our pathway that much better, both within the Whitecaps and within Canada. I think if we've seen anything on the women's side, we have the ability to do it. We've got the talent, we've got the players. Bringing in a professional league really allows us to fill that gap between the youth pathway and the professional pathway or the international pathway, and continue the development of our players. So the excitement, not just for the players to be on the field, but the ability to create jobs for women that are working in sport across the country. I was in a boardroom the other day with a bunch of really powerful women talking about branding and the next steps and what this league and what this team means to the city and this country. And one of our players, was in the boardroom with us, and she had the opportunity to give her opinion and to speak about what it means to her. And just the fact that, we don't have a league yet, it's coming, and we already have a young girl in a boardroom. For me, it's already creating that dream and that opportunity for the young women to aspire to over the next couple of years.
Great stuff there from Katie Collar. Now, Alex, what was the biggest thing you took away from that quick interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was fascinating. I think probably the biggest thing is just the idea of opportunity. I think the story at the end of just, the Whitecaps being involved in this creation of a pro pathway and the players being involved in that. And you can only just get excited about the opportunity that this will provide some of these players to make that step in their backyard and move on, because it's overdue, right? I think it's something where, we needed these sorts of pathways. And I think it's just exciting to see that these players are also, going to be able to play a role in it from day one, and especially at their young ages, because you can only imagine what it would have provided for the many players before them. So I think for me, the big theme, you can tell from what Katie was saying, is opportunity.
Absolutely. Katie has been doing such an incredible job for the program, but for a program like this to really thrive, you need buy-in at all levels. And head coach of Vancouver Whitecaps, Vanni Sartini, has definitely bought in, and he knows just how important this youth program is, doesn't he, Alex?
Absolutely. And I think that's crucial to just have that buy-in across the club as well. I think even from Axel Schuster, the fact that he was there in the ground days of League One BC, and then, Vanni Sartini as well, because when League One BC, the plans really were set into motion, Vanni was still working in the Whitecaps Academy. He wasn't quite head coach yet. So for him to have been there and, helped lay some of these plans, and, now as a head coach, he's remained committed. I think that's huge, because you need that sort of buy-in across the club. And I think, The fact that, someone like Vanny that has had such a long background in youth development, especially with the Whitecaps, where he's been there for a couple years now. I think that's just immense, and it just helps because from there, I mean, yeah, just on the men's side, the fact that these League One players, and they know that they're a part of the club, that this pathway means something, that the team wants them to develop, and then also certainly for the women's side as well, that the success they've had and that this pathway is being created is there. It's important. I think it's huge, because sometimes you can have these developmental programs and maybe a coach doesn't really see the value in that, but for Vanny, that absolutely hasn't been a problem.
Vanny has definitely bought in, and luckily for us, Alex, you're able to go down and talk with him, and he got some quotes on what he thinks about it.
Fantastic, I think. I'm very happy that the final is at BC Place, and not only our kids, but also Unity, the girls from Unity and Highlanders they have the possibility to play at such a big stage. I love it. I always say that it's the most important thing for a movement to grow, like the Canadian movement, is to have quality opportunity to play for everyone. And football in Canada is likely going on that direction in the last years. The CPL, so professional development for players that they are not reaching the MLS at the beginning, but they can stay here in the country and play a good level CPL. We've seen in the Canadian Championship, it's always hard to beat CPL teams. The League One, that before was only basically in Ontario and in Quebec, now we have it. Alberta has it. So it's and the quality is very good. So again, I say it again to the CSA. I hope that they will qualify more teams from the League One to the Canadian Championship, because that would be even more giving more importance to this competition that is already, I would say, very important. And I'm really happy that we are part of it for two reasons. First reason is for our players, because there's a gap between the U17 and playing in the MLS Next Pro or playing for us. So we need to bridge that gap with a possibility of playing for the guys in our academy, and also the lot of very good players that we have in college that can come back, and we can monitor their progress in these 3 months where they play. And the other thing is that we like to be kind of leader or reference of a soccer community in BC. So everything that we can help in order to improve the movement of soccer first in BC and then in Canada, we are very happy to be part of it.
All right, Alex, we're going to move along now to the academy program. And the interesting thing is that academies can be done in different ways. If you take a look at the 3 Canadian MLS sides, they are very different, but it's mainly due to the region. If you take a look at TFC, they have the GTA to pull from. CF Montreal has Quebec, and the Vancouver Whitecaps pretty much have everything else. They have, which I found surprising, academies in 8 different provinces. And they do have a lot of success getting players from their academies to the men's and women's program. If you take a look at the women, they have Sinclair, Schmidt, Jade Riviere, Grosso, Hoydema. If you look at the men's program, Davies, Atakubi are obviously there, and they have success with other professionals with Bustos, Campbell, Coline, Hojabrapor. A player who didn't really go through their academy, but is a BC player, is Joel Waterman, and that is where I want to focus in on, Alex. It's an interesting debate, but do you think having access to this many players across Canada hurts the BC pool itself?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a dichotomy that people have kind of struggled with in BC, is that, yeah, I think for the Whitecaps, they certainly benefit from it. The fact that you have an access to all these different pools, and the fact that they've kind of put their hands in that, you see the benefits of it. It's fascinating about this League One BC. The women's team, for example, the successful team, you look at their roster, they've got players from Alberta, they've got players from BC, they got players from kind of all over. And I think that will always help a club when you have access to all that sort of talent pool. But I think where, the part that has suffered the most has been BC players, because look, for the Whitecaps, also as a club, they have a responsibility to put out the best team possible to make the most of the resources they have. And for them, that means access to all these provinces. If the best players are coming out of Saskatchewan, then they have every reason to be picking players from Saskatchewan. But that's also frustrating, because I think also, as a BC club, I think, everyone in BC, you also want to see the game grow here. And I think that's where their involvement in League One BC has been so huge, because maybe even if the Whitecaps aren't fielding a team of 18 BC born players, there are other teams in BC, you know, across League One BC that are, you know, employing similar mandates. Certainly the TSS Rovers have been a team very heavily involved in developing BC talent. I mean, Joel Waterman is kind of leads the way in that regard. Julia Gross and Jordan Hoytema also did play for the Rovers, and there's countless other examples of players there. The Victoria Highlanders have done a pretty good job just on the men's side alone. The likes of Josh Hurd, Sean Young, Brett Levi's, although Levi's is also Saskatchewan born. It shows how interconnected everything is. Also pushed alumni through. And I think the one thing's for sure, though, you can see with League One BC, there's been a lot of BC players. It's been fascinating to see some of the young BC players, but also BC players who are in that those 20s who maybe didn't get that chance, now being able to thrive. And that the Whitecaps are involved in that is huge, because yeah, I think it's something where you can argue over the last 5-10 years it hurt the BC pool, and you know, we're playing catch up because of it. There was only one men's BC player at the World Cup. There was only 4 women's players, and 2 of them were Sinclair and Schmidt, 2 veterans. So there is certainly a lot of work to be done. There's a reason why they call it the BC problem. And, you know, programs like League One BC like League One BC are going to be a huge difference maker in that regard.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's a lot of talent coming through both the men's and women's side. But Alex, the big game changer that's coming up in 2025 is Project 8. The Whitecaps have a side already, and I know you're excited for a lot of this young talent coming through League One BC on the women's side to potentially make that shift to a professional league in their backyard.
I think that's absolutely crucial. I think it's something where you see it with these women players. They are supremely talented, especially if you're looking at the Whitecaps specifically. They won the league in the first year despite having a core of 15, 16-year-olds. A bunch of them went to the U17 World Cup later that year after winning the League One BC championship. And I think it's going to be huge for them to now push to professional, because I think what's key is where Canada is falling behind to the rest of the world. It's in that 16 to 22 range. Why? Because a lot of top Canadian players, they're either falling through the cracks or they're going to go play college. What are the top 16-year-old French players, English players, Spanish players? What are they all doing? They're playing in their leagues. They're playing professionally. They're getting those reps week in, week out. So it's going to be crucial for this crop of players to now get that opportunity in Canada and help close that gap that's been opened up, so that, you know, these players get that chance to play professionally and push. So I'm super excited to see, because the talent is absolutely there. I think you're seeing it, and hopefully through that it can also help Canada's struggles at youth World Cups, where, you know, again, it's that disadvantage of Canada's best 17 to 20-year-olds are playing in college, and then the best are playing professionally. If we can get that in our own backyard, it will be an absolute game changer. So I can't wait.
It's definitely a great time to be a BC soccer fan. And if you're in the area this weekend, be sure to head out to the League One BC finals. Or if you're there next weekend, head to the Interprovincial Championships. A lot of fantastic talent on display. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode. And if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. We'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.